Hey Bob,
Hey, Keith, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm good, Bob. Finally, good to see you again. And how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, Bob. Thank you so much.
Good,
So,
good,
how was the
good.
day so far?
Say again?
How was your day so far?
So far, fantastic. I was getting ready for this actual interview. So, yeah,
Awesome, awesome, Bob. Awesome.
thank you.
So, Bob, September 7th, you released your album Unearthed. So, would you like to tell me a bit about this album in particular?
Now, which album would that be, sir?
Unearthed, where you filled in a lot of
Oh,
some.
yeah. Oh, the Unearthed album. Yeah, that was an interesting collection. Between 2000, oh no, excuse me, 1986 and 2016. In between albums I would later be featured on, I would go into the studio with whomever and record a bunch of demo stuff to see if it would make it to an album or not. And through the years, I've collected a lot of great music with a lot of great musicians that never made it to any album. So when I was in contact with Dark Age, the conversation came up. And I said, well, I have all this unreleased material. Would you think you'd be wanting to put it out? And of course, he jumped right all over it, and he agreed to do it. And the selling point was a demo that I did in 1987 with Jim Mooney, who was my songwriting partner in Attacker. He and I both wrote the Battle at Helm's Deep album. So these four songs were supposed to be a continuation of that album, but he and I had left. So we kept them to ourselves, gave ourselves the name Night Hunter, and we named ourselves Night Hunter after the song by Picture.
Yeah.
We used to do that as a cover song, and so it was suggested that we call ourselves that, so we did. And but we recorded it. Um, to my knowledge, we never did much with it. We played out quite a lot, and it was easy because Jim and I were already an Attacker, and so we had this built-in following. But after about maybe 2 years of performance, Jim had decided that he didn't want to continue with Night Hunter because, according to him, he said nobody's interested. We weren't getting feedback from labels, so he decided to call it a day, and I agreed. And that same year in 1989 is when I joined Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
I just continued on from there. So but this four-song demo made it to the Unearthed collection. And when word got out that these four songs were going to finally be released, there was tremendous feedback to Dark Age Records. So Aaron's idea was to release it not only as part of the Unearthed collection, but as a standalone release. And that's what he did. And it turned out to be a great move because before the release date, which was August 25th, Night Hunter had completely sold out of all copies available. And just as recently as perhaps I think last week
Mhm.
or whenever this interview will air, just for the sake of time, I'll just say last week before this interview, it was found out that Unearthed is now also completely sold out. So the both releases were a runaway hit, and I'm telling you, Keith, it's a hell of a way to retire. I love it. I never thought I didn't think anybody would care. I just took a shot in the dark, and Dark Age went for it, and it was a huge success. So I'm very happy about it.
Fantastic. And talking about this album Unearthed, I think I have no idea why this has been kept under the rug for so many years. It should have been come out long time back. But thanks, you brought up all these great songs back to the scene.
Yeah, it was,
And we
you know,
totally enjoyed each and everything from this
well,
compact.
as you may or may not know, but many of my fans do know, I suffered a stroke. And and I never thought I would see this music come to light. So when I had my stroke and came out of it, thank God, I thought about my music. I'm like, I got stuff nobody's ever heard. Are they ever going to hear it? And I just about gave up when I made contact with Dark Age. So
How are you feeling
thank
now?
God, thank God for them. And it's wonderful to see that my music is still appreciated after all these years.
How are you health wise? Are you doing better now?
Much better. I came out of my coma, as I said. It was about a year and 7 months ago that I had my stroke, and in a year and 7 months, I'm already walking. I walk without a assistive device in my home. I use a cane in public. I mean, I'm not walking like I like to, but I'm walking nonetheless. And the great thing about my stroke was that, and believe it or not, there is a blessing to having a stroke because it slows you down.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop you, it slows you down, makes you think, reflect, and say, hey, I did a lot of cool stuff. I've had a very blessed life. And now I'm surviving the stroke to realize what a blessed life I have had. So, when you have a stroke, it's never over. And if I may toot my own horn, to my credit, before the stroke, I never drank, I never did drugs, I never lived that rock lifestyle, not ever. And I think that's what saved me because when I had my stroke, the first thing they checked for is a hole in the heart. There was no hole in the heart, and my cognitive reflexes are intact. I'm at 98%, according to my neurologist. My speech is a little compromised because, my left side has a little heaviness, but now I look like my relatives. And, but I tell you, I've never been happier. And it's just wonderful to see that fans have rallied and I'm in more touch with my fans now than I've ever been in my life. And I talk to so many of them. And again, I've had a very blessed life. And all I can say right now at this point is welcome to the rest of my life.
Beautiful, beautiful, Bob. It's amazing. So you said,
Well, when I had the stroke, first thing I did was look up and go, "Is that the best you got?" And I moved on. And I knew what I had to do. I went into physical and occupational therapy with full force, and I treated it like a metal show. I was going into this head first, and I was going to kill it. And I've been doing really good. So,
amazing.
and my overall health has improved. My one friend, he said to me, you're going to come out of this healthier than when you came in. And I really believe that. So I take things a lot more in stride now. I don't worry as much about too many things. Like I said, my memory is intact. And the only bad thing about having good memory is that you still got to pay your rent.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that.
I think the whole world will agree with that one.
Yeah. Totally.
You can't play stupid when it comes to the Bills.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in the beginning, you said you are retiring from music, but metal has, there's no point of retiring in metal. So do you ever think that you'll come back again into the scene making more music?
No, I am retired from show business in general. I mean, what do you do after 47 years? 47 years. Do you realize that with these two new releases that I just come out,
Hmm.
it makes it a total of 28 commercial releases? Okay. So if you count compilation albums and picture discs and what have you, I am featured on a total of 44 commercial releases. That includes box sets with Metal Blade and uh, I think Attacker was on a live album from Keep It True, so we got a song in there.
Mm.
There's just so much music I've done over the years. There's really nothing else for me to do. And I'm glad to say before the stroke, I recorded 2 albums with 2 great bands, and they were both really good albums that did very, very well. One was Sceptor from Germany,
Mhm.
and the other one was the Hounds of Hasselvander. Um, the album was called Another Dose of Life, and how appropriate. I just got another dose of life. And I tell you, what better way to end a music career than sharing your talents with a legend like Joe Hasselvander?
Yeah. Mm.
I've had the honor of doing that, and I will always be grateful for that. So, to come back to it, I don't think it would be wise. It's kind of like going out to dinner with your ex wife. So, you sit down to dinner, and before you get the water, you figure out why you hate her guts. So, it's best not to go back.
Gotcha. Totally
So,
get
I'm retired. I am happily retired, and my family is well off monetarily, and I have no worries. So all I could do is sit back, enjoy myself, do interviews like this, talk about my career, talk about life, and just really enjoy and take it all in. I should say, excuse me. Um, there's really nothing more I can say about that. I did it. If you saw me live, great. If you didn't, well, there's tons of videos on YouTube with me on it. There's my just about my entire career is on Spotify, with the exception of Mind Assassin, Savior from Anger, and the Hounds of Hasselvander. Those are on YouTube. So if you want to make a day of it, you go to Spotify and then you go to YouTube. You can hear me all day long.
fantastic. And
But the one thing I would love to do, not to interrupt, excuse me. The one thing I do love doing is interviews like this, okay? And what I'd like to do eventually is go out on speaking engagements
mm,
and talk to these younger bands on what to do and what not to do. And anybody who's suffered an illness, I like to give them a pep talk and, and assure them it's not over until it's over.
mm,
When I had my stroke, I did see the proverbial light. And instead of, embracing it, I cursed at it. I was like, I don't want to come in there yet. So St. Peter was like, oh, no, not this guy, not yet. So set me right back down again. And God said, no, I don't need the headache. I got enough. God forgive me.
Interesting.
I feel comfortable saying jokes like that because one of the people that I grew up around was my priest, Father Ide from Hoboken, and he used to joke about it all the time. And I particularly remember one joke he used to say. He used to say, "You know what? I love the Lord, I serve the Lord, but I question his sense of humor." So when I say stuff like I just did, I don't feel weird because it's like it's okay because God doesn't listen to what you say, he reads your heart. As long as you have a good heart, you'll have a good life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So anybody out there who's religious, relax. I'm just joking.
There will always be there.
Oh, hey, look, I went through the music thing in the 80s, so I know what it's all about.
True.
It's all good. I used to just laugh. I'm like, oh, God, you have nothing else better to do?
Absolutely.
Would you have a soul to save instead of standing out here in front of an Ozzy concert? Come on. Come on.
And your highly acclaimed album with Attacker, Battle at the Helm's Deep, back in
Yes.
1995. So, would you like to bring back some memories of those golden era?
That album will always be so close to my heart. Um, I will always love that album. And of course, as you know, as many of you watching know, that that is the album I am most associated with, which it's kind of like my association with Battle is kind of like Bela Lugosi and Dracula. Now, Bela was known for Dracula, but he did a huge body of motion picture work that made him who he was when he passed away. He was Bela Lugosi. So I kind of find myself in that situation, like because of the initial success of the Battle album, I was able to sustain a 40 plus year career doing other stuff and doing well with the other bands also. And so I owe it all to Battle, and I that album is my baby. It always will be, regardless if I'm in the band or not anymore. That's neither here nor there. I haven't been in the band since 2008, and I've had quite a great career after that too. So, but I owe it all to that album, and I'm proud to say that since the release of Battle, it's been reissued 6 more times, and it's done well every single time. So, what's not to be proud? I mean, you know, it was a special time, and the musicians in that band were remarkable, and a lot of them are still playing and doing great for themselves, and I'm very happy for them. So, and I'm also very happy to say that I feel very privileged to have been asked to be in that band all those years ago. So they'll always be in my heart. So I appreciate it very much.
Yes, and the band is still in touch with you.
No, sadly, we're not friends, but that's show business. You know what I mean? I don't hate them or anything. We're just not friends. And they're doing their thing, and I've done my thing for a lot of years. And it's a happy medium. So, if they're still going at it, God bless them. I mean, better them than me.
Also, and apart from Attacker, you had other bands: Sleepy Hollow, Vyndyykator, Alchemy X, Sceptor, Mind Assassin, and Hounds of Hasselvander, and a lot of bands. And you have also worked in few other bands which just stopped by the demo, like we spoke earlier. So, how
Yeah.
how it feels to be with so many different bands, and what was your experience out of this?
I've been very blessed to have been surrounded by some great musicians throughout the years. I mean, every band I've stepped into, the musicianship was superb, and I feel very lucky to have been a part of that. Especially with Sleepy Hollow and Mind Assassin, Sceptor, the Hounds, of course. You know, the great thing about the Hounds is the way I got into the Hounds is Joe Hasselvander played drums on my Mind Assassin record. And that's how that came to be. And if I'm not mistaken, now I hope I'm corrected if I'm wrong, but I believe Joe's performance as a drummer, his very last performance as a drummer, I should say, was on my Mind Assassin record, and he played superb. And I think it was after that he finished the Raven album that he was on. And he did a beautiful job. And he said, "Hey, Bob, you got to sing in my band." And I'm like, "Well, hell yeah, I would." So, but I had to do my thing with Mind Assassin, and he was doing his thing with Raven. But after his run with Raven, sadly, he had a heart attack. So that was put on hold. And I told Joe, I said, "Listen, when you get better, I will be here." And I kept my word to him. He got better. He wanted to write. He sent me music. And the great thing about the Hounds is that Joe gave me complete freedom to sing the way I wanted to write the lyrics the way I saw fit. He never questioned what I did. He loved what I did. And he gave me, a guy like him giving you complete freedom. That's quite a compliment. And I'll always be grateful for that. And Joe and I did some good music together, not only with the Hounds, but with Mind Assassin. So, because to my understanding, with the Mind Assassin sessions, Joe had a bunch of great ideas as well. So he put his 2 cents in, made the songs better. So, it's a big honor. So I'll always be grateful to that. And I've done so many things. I mean, during my run with Sleepy Hollow, I was in a cover band here in Erie, Pennsylvania, where I live. I was in a cover band called Old School. And although we were a cover band, we never performed like one, meaning that we never took breaks in between sets. We did a complete 2.5 hour show every time we played. Never took a break. I'm like, you know what? If we're going to do this, let's pay tribute to an era that is slowly being forgotten. So that's what we did. And that's what we called ourselves Old School. Because, I mean, we would do songs like When Heaven Comes Down by Dokken. We would do Hard Lovin' Man by Riot. We did Medal of Honor by T.T. Quick. We were doing stuff no cover band would dare do. And you know what their reason was? Their reason was, oh, nobody knows those songs. My thing is, no, you don't know how to play them. If you play the songs good, they're going to like it regardless. And that's what Old School did. And we were able to sustain a 2.5 hour show every time we played. We never opened for anyone. We were the headlining act for the entire 4 years we were together. And it was great. It kept me strong as a singer, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. And after that, I went into Mind Assassin and did my thing with them, and it just rolled on from there. Save You From Anger, and so on and so on.
Fantastic.
It was a beautiful time. It really was. My whole career was really something special. I mean, I got to tell you, Keith, for an underground guy, okay, and I'm an underground guy. I did a lot. I did more than most mainstream people do. I think. I mean, I could be wrong, but I did do a lot. For a guy on the underground, and even for all these years of playing in bands, I've always kept a job. I always kept a good job. And I made it to this point in my life. So I'm very happy with everything.
Amazing. Amazing, Bob. Yep. Amazing.
It can be done. That's my point. It can be done. If you think you can't, well, then you shouldn't do it. But it can be done. When I first started in this business, I was advised by someone in the business, not in a rock band, but in show business. I was advised, listen, you're really good at what you do, but keep a job. Always make money. That's what I was told, and that's what I did. I always kept a job. I would play and play and play, and I would save up vacation time. So I would go, let's say, for example, in the early 2000s, I went on tour with Attacker in Europe, right? I would go, I would get paid for playing over there. Then I come home and there's a paycheck. That's beautiful. So I spend my day coming home from tour, going to the bank. How great is that? So, I did that for a long, 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 long time. And
it's amazing. And Bob, I want to take you now to decades before you started this music business thing. And what made you to get into music, and who are the people you really admired on to get into the music?
The reason I became a singer, and everyone who knows me and has followed my career, they already know the answer. And they're probably rolling their eyes. The reason I became a singer is Dean Martin.
Wow, it's
Dean
amazing.
Martin is the reason I wanted to be a singer. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, I'll give you the story real quick. I was 5 years old watching the Dean Martin show with my grandfather, right? And the first time I saw him, he was sitting on a couch, he was singing, and he had all these women all over him. And I'm like, oh, I want to be him. And that was it. Who wouldn't? I mean, come on. What what singer, what artist in their right mind doesn't want to play and be surrounded by beautiful women? That's why we get into this to begin with. There was two reasons I got into music: women and money. That's it. It has
Awesome.
nothing to do with being an artist. An artist is what you become. The respect is what you earn, you know? But the reason to get into it, chicks and money. That's it.
That's cool. That's cool.
Eh, it's honest. I mean, you think about it, Dean Martin was very rock and roll. I mean, come on. He was a good looking guy. He had a great voice. And, women everywhere loved him and guys wanted to be like him. That to me is very rock and roll. So he's the reason. And I thank God for him every day.
Beautiful, beautiful. And it's like a tribute to Dean Martin now. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. He's the end all be all. He was so cool. I think if he was born later, he would have been a rock singer.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that one.
He would have been. So, I mean, I know from people that knew him that he wasn't really a fan of rock and roll, but he understood, that aspect of it. And that's why I say I think if he was born later, he would have been a rock singer. So you know who reminds me of Dean Martin though? Paul Rogers
Mm,
from Bad Company.
yeah.
He's very laid back and his eyes are always closed, just like Dean, and very laid back and beautiful voice. I'm like, Paul Rogers would have been Dean Martin. It's true. I mean, even my stage persona, I patterned it after him and guys like him. I mean, I'm not the typical rock singer with the making the grimaces and once in a while it may come out, but I never made it a point to be that way. I'm always very laid back with my arms going this way and that way, and you know, that's really it. So, and I would tell jokes in between songs.
Mm.
For me, it worked. I mean,
It's
you
wonderful. It's wonderful, Bob. And Bob, you shared stages with a lot of amazing bands and musicians over the years. And how special were these times when who were some of those idols that you really felt during those times when you shared stage with them?
Well, I tell you, when Attacker started, we were playing shows with Fate's Warning and TT Quick and Hades, and those bands were tremendous. And TT Quick, I absolutely loved. I often say, as a rock singer, Mark Tonillo was a big influence on me. He's now with Accept.
Mm.
And back then, the funny thing about that is that back then, when TT Quick were a cover band, guess what? They did Accept songs. They were the first band in our area to cover Accept. They were doing stuff like Flash Rocket Man and Son of a Bitch, and I think they did Restless and Wild. So when I heard Mark had joined, I'm like, wow, what a fit. And I love Accept. And well, Mark Tonillo joined. It was great. Um, as I just mentioned, we also played with Hades. It was another great band I absolutely love. And Fate's Warning. We also got to play with bands like, and that was in the Attacker era. With Sleepy Hollow, it was Raven. It was Metal Church. It was Michael Schenker. Michael Schenker was great because we had direct support right before Schenker to play with them. So I got to meet Robin McCauley, and Michael himself was, believe it or not, very approachable. He was a really nice guy. I heard he was aloof, that he didn't really talk to people, but I was downstairs. He came up to us and he complimented our set and was really gracious and so nice. And before we went on, my guitar player had a Gibson Flying V.
Mm.
And Schenker noticed it, and he came over and he said, "May I please see this guitar?" What are you going to say to Schenker? No, get lost, kid. You know. So yeah, here you go. So Schenker played my guitar player's guitar.
Wow.
Amazing. And he asked us, where's your back gear? You know, your equipment. And we showed him. Well, that's it over there. He goes, "You'll play through my stuff." So we got to play through his stuff,
That's
which is
awesome.
wow. It was so cool. And Robin made sure we got paid too.
Amazing.
So it was great. I mean, playing with Raven, that's a no-brainer. We became good friends, and that's how Joe and I met. And the Gallagher brothers were amazing. Still friends to this day. In the early days with Attacker, going back that way now, I know I'm jumping all over the place. We had played with Metal Church, and I became good friends with David. And, you know, we weren't close, but when we saw each other, it was very nice every time. And he and I shared a wonderful thing. David became a paramedic as a job, and I was a nurse. So we always had something to talk about. And then later, when I was in Savior from Anger, I got to meet David's daughter, and I became good friends with her. So we're very close friends, and we exchanged Christmas cards and whatnot. So
Amazing.
Metal Church is a very special band to me.
They are awesome, awesome, awesome.
It was cool because when Attacker played with Metal Church, I remember David and Kurt were on the side watching us. And David really liked the Battle album.
Mm.
He's like, "I got to get a copy of that," you know. So I had a cassette and I gave it to him. You know, so I don't know if he had it all these years, but I remember giving him a copy. And like I said, we weren't close, but when we saw each other, it was great every single time. And he was always a very cool guy.
Fantastic.
And if I may say, one of the greatest voices in metal ever. Him, Udo, Mark Tonillo are my top three guys
Fantastic.
for metal. Of course, you know, Ian Gillan before that, and I love Ian Gillan.
Yeah.
Ian Gillan to me is what Dean Martin is to me.
Mm.
So high and above all. So
Totally, totally agreed on that one. And Bob, I know there has been a lot of amazing moments, great moments over these decades in your life. But is there something special that you want to share with me today?
Well, my out of everything I've ever done, my greatest accomplishment was becoming a father.
Wow.
My kids are my world. My family is my life. And even more so after that, I became a grandfather just this year.
Congratulations, Bob.
So how about that? You know, it's amazing. I had the stroke. I was able to see my grandson, and I'm still in touch with my fans, and I have two great releases. And I'm talking to you.
Beautiful,
It
beautiful.
doesn't get better, my friend. I mean, it really God is something else. I tell you, He put you through the ringer, and you can get mad at him, but he's one of those guys. You get mad at him, and he sits back and he goes, "Yeah, okay," and then he'll do something great for you.
Absolutely, totally agree
Gave
with
me
you.
my grandson and all these amazing fans, and I think my career is going to continue because of the fans and all the music I've put out throughout the years. So it's a beautiful thing.
Fantastic,
It really
fantastic.
is.
Awesome, fantastic, Bob. And Bob, this coming question might sound a little stupid, but still, I want to ask you this question. I know you work with a lot of bands over the history of your career, but what is the band that you consider is the best thing that you ever did?
Alchemy X,
Fantastic, fantastic. And
and I'll tell you why.
any,
Alchemy X is the best, my favorite thing that I've done of everything I've ever done. That's saying a lot. Okay. Um, The reason why I say Alchemy X is because they made me a better singer. Up until that point, I was this power metal guy. And when I started doing these songs for them, they were like, you know what? You got a really great voice, but don't do that power metal stuff. Just sing. And my bass player at the time, he said to me, you know what? They're right. Because when I'm in the car with you, Bob, you sing Beatles, you sing the Hollies, you sing Dean Martin, you sing Jerry Vale. Just sing and you'll be all right. And they were right. So if you listen to the Alchemy X record, I do a lot of singing on that album. And I'm very proud of it. And they were great. I love those guys. And we're still friends to this day. So that is my favorite thing. I mean, of course, as I said earlier, Battle at Helm's Deep is close to my heart. But Battle is like your first girlfriend. You never forget, you know? Um, they were special songs. That was a special time. But Alchemy X made me a better singer. And I use that to this day. Just sing, just sing. What you got to scream for? You got the job. So I decided to sing a lot after that, and it's proven to be beneficial to me. So I appreciate it. I appreciate them. So I hope they're watching this. So
fantastic, Bob, fantastic. And Bob, since you are retired from the music business and you have a lot of time in your hands, will you ever consider writing an autobiography of the all the achievements that you have done over the years?
I was advised back in January of this year when I officially announced my retirement. It was actually my doctor. He told me, "Why don't you chronicle all your accomplishments? Write them down. Do what you got to do." He said, "It'll jog your memory and you'll be fine." And boy, was he right. When I started writing this stuff down, I started, "Oh, that's when this happened. That's you got to see." I think I sent you that stuff,
Yeah,
and all from memory, all from memory. And this was on the advice of my doctor, so I'm completely grateful to him because he helped to jog my memory. Now, before I did this podcast with you, I've done several podcasts already, and I've done several print interviews as well. And it's been fantastic because it helped with my memory. So when I went back to my neurologist, they tested my memory, and I'm at 98%.
oh, that's
And I said, what was the other 2%? And he says, well, the other 2% will be like little things like forgetting your keys, forgetting your wallet. Oh, okay. And so, I mean, if that's the worst of it, I said, what about taking your wife out wherever she wants to go, but she comes back? So little things like that. He said that would be the worst that happens to you. So he said, you're doing good. I said, okay. So thank God, so. And I'm able to tell stories on shows like yours, and I'm happy to do that.
It's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, it's
Amazing.
great. I mean, it is, show business, if you take it for what it is, you'll be fine. If you take it too seriously, you're gonna not be in such good shape. I mean, I see a lot of the bands that I grew up listening to, they're all fighting with each other. And I'm like, why are you doing that? I mean, I've never heard of such things. I mean, you never saw Dean Martin fighting with Frank Sinatra. I mean, they got along because show business is just that, showbiz. You're paid to pretend. You're paid to have fun. You're paid to make an ass out of yourself for an hour on stage. What's the harm? Now, look, don't get me wrong. I know it's hard work. I know it could be laborious at times, especially when you're writing an album. But if you already know this, where's the shock? Where's the surprise? The greatest example of our profession right now is Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
He's in his mid 70s. He is quite proudly a show business guy. And that's why he survived our business. Because for him, it's showbiz. It's you think about the career of Alice Cooper. He played golf with Bob Hope. Groucho Marx was a fan of his. Um, the godfather of his daughter is Vincent Price. I mean, come on, how cool is that? What are you mad about? When I see guys like Nugent and Journey fighting, I'm like, what are y'all mad about? If you got bitterness because maybe you screwed up somewhere, that's nobody's fault but your own.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care if this gets edited out or not. It's the truth.
Yeah. I'm not
You
going to
know
take it. It's all going to go live.
Good. I mean, look, I was in Attacker. I'm happy to have been in that band. Did we get along? No, but I don't hate them. That's show business.
Yeah.
When you go to your job at work, you're not going to like everybody you work with. But when you work with them, you work pretty damn good together. That's about it. When you gotta, any young band watching this, remember, nobody's there for the art. This is show business. You are out there to pretend. You're out there to have fun. So just have a good time with it. That's it. If you bear that in mind, you'll have a nice long career. The only reason I stopped is because I had a stroke. But I'm not going to be dumb enough to go back on that sort of schedule again. That's crazy. I had a crazy schedule, and for me to go back to it would be not very wise. And I value my life, and as I said, my greatest accomplishment, hands down, is my family, and they are who I live for. And I live for my fans too. I don't want to be stupid and do something stupid to myself and then they lose out. So it's important for me to stick around for them, for my children, my grandson. It's highly important. So I mean, without them, I don't know. I'd probably be finger painting somewhere. I don't know what the heck. It's been a blessed life, my friend, and I hope anybody watching this can take example from what I'm saying. Really.
And Bob, would you consider giving vocals training to the upcoming musicians?
Oh, you mean guidance? Oh,
Right.
of course. Yes. Anytime. I mean, I'm all about it. I mean, I'm a show business nerd. I mean, I have been since the age of 5. And I do read Variety, believe it or not. So I pretty much know what's going on in our profession. And I'm pretty wise to a lot of the younger, newer bands that are out now. And there are a couple that I actually do like that my children listen to, like Machine Gun Kelly
Yeah.
and Youngblood. I mean, those kids are amazing. And Machine Gun Kelly in particular. And the first and foremost reason I like them is because they make my kids happy.
Mm.
That's it. We're not in the era anymore where parents hate your music. Think about it. We're not in that era no more. There was a time, if your parents liked Deep Purple, then they just weren't cool no more. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
we're not in that era anymore, because we grew up on rock. We grew up on rebellion. We grew up on going against the grain.
Yeah.
And these guys like Youngblood and Machine Gun Kelly, they're very reminiscent to the early punk era. And it's a great era. And they make my kids happy. So I'm like, all right, let me give these guys a listen. I'm like, hey, they're actually really good, you know. So I'm wise to what's going on out there, and you have to be. You really have to be. And my other reason for retiring is, it's time for the young people to start making money. All these guys my age and up, they need to go home, count their money, and stay home. How much more money do you need? What if you drop that tomorrow? Then what? You know what I mean? So let the young kids make their money. That's how it, that's how our profession survives and moves on. Um, Back in the 50s, when Elvis came out of the army, he did a TV show with Frank Sinatra. Now, Sinatra knew he's a kid. All right, I'll do it. It was the best thing he could have done. But that's show business. Let the young kids in, let them do what they got to do. Same thing when Bing Crosby sang with David Bowie.
Yes.
Same thing. Bing wasn't all about the rock and roll, but he liked David Bowie. He liked him as a person. So he said, hey, why don't you come sing with me? And they did that, that beautiful Christmas song we all love.
Yeah.
And the funny part about that, to my understanding, is they did that song in one take.
Wow.
Now, I tell you, if I had the opportunity to sing with Dean Martin or Bing Crosby, I think I'd drop dead. So I'd be like, ba, da, da, ba, da. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. But Bowie did it. Presley did it. If you got the stamp of approval from a guy who's been around, you're doing all right. A more recent example is Tony Bennett with Lady Gaga. Tony Bennett, I mean, what can you say about Tony Bennett that has not been said? And here he is giving guidance to Lady Gaga. And after he did that, I should say, after he gave the seal of approval, her career skyrocketed like never before. So I would like to do that for young bands. You know what I mean?
That's
Help
beautiful.
them out, give them guidance, and say, hey, you know what? This kid is all right. So I would love the opportunity to do that, and I think I will at some point.
Fantastic. Fantastic, Bob. And now it's like a second life to you, all of music. But what do you like to do in your life?
Oh well, I'm. Let me see. Well, besides being with my family, I'm a big follower of professional wrestling. I watch classic movies. Um, let's see what else. I'm a toy collector. My kids and I, we collect Funko Pops and Squishmallows, and you got to see this house. It looks like Toys R Us blew up.
That should be amazing.
But it's so much fun. We're all decorated for Halloween already and the fall season, and I mean, I know my wife and I are parents, but all of us we're just a big bunch of kids, and we're just enjoying everything. It's a beautiful thing. I mean, like I said, anybody who knows me, they know what I'm into, and pro wrestling, especially, is a huge part of my life. I've been watching wrestling since I'm 5 years old, and I watch it to this very, very day. And let me see, from the years 1992 to 1999, I was a ring announcer.
Oh,
So I was able to live my dream and be in the professional wrestling business. And I became friends with all these great legends and guys that were starting out that became legends. And it's a beautiful thing. So, and I'm still in touch with a lot of them. And, when I had my stroke, they were one of the first few guys to get in touch with me. So I'll never forget it. My time with wrestling was great. Um, and then I'm big time into classic movies, and you name it, I'll watch it, as long as it's before 1940. So yeah, I'm an old soul at heart. Heck, I'm just old. Keith, I've been around so long that Keith Richard is getting nervous.
really?
I mean, think about who Keith Richard has outlived.
Oh yeah,
It's staggering.
yeah.
It's staggering. He should have been dead 10 times. God bless. You know what I mean? I love Keith Richard, but holy mackerel.
He's amazing.
He is. I would love to meet him, shake his hand, and tell him thank you for the great music and thank you for setting the example of living. He's a great example of show business. He just he knows what it is and he just does it. You know, how do you not love that guy? I mean, he is. You don't have to be a metal guy to be admired by others. He's just amazing. You know,
He
love him to death. Really do. So,
fantastic, fantastic. And Bob, would you ever consider producing new bands? I mean, helping the new bands in terms of production or working like a recording label kind of thing in the future?
yeah, I would do that. Sure. I mean, it's helping a young band, so why not? I mean, I'm not tech savvy. I would still need an engineer, but I do have two good ears, and I know talent when I hear it. So if I'm hearing something that doesn't sound right, I could always suggest, try this, do that. You know, I would be open for that, no problem.
Fantastic, fantastic. And do you still have any demos that are still unreleased?
Nope. Everything you've got now is everything I've ever done.
Fantastic, fantastic, Bob.
Unless you want recordings of me going to the bathroom, but you know what? Some lunatic out there will go, yeah, I want that.
We have Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, please. No. No, everything that I have now with the inclusion of these two new releases, that is everything I have ever done. So now you've got it all.
Awesome, awesome, Bob. Awesome. And Bob, finally, any message that you have for the fans around the world?
Oh my goodness, where do I begin? I love you all so very much. And it's wonderful to speak to someone in India.
Thank you.
This is great. So, hello to everyone in India. Mwah, I love you guys, really. A funny thing is, where I live, grew up in Hoboken, New Jersey. There was a large contingent of Indian people, and my best friend growing up was a guy named Balaji Singh, and he was the best. He was such a great guy. He and I loved Godzilla. We used to talk about the Godzilla movies we'd watch on TV, we'd talk about it the next day in school, get in trouble for it. But Balaji was a great kid, and I love the people of India. They've always been so awesome. And it's great to finally talk to them. See what I mean with this stroke? I'm getting to talk to everybody now. It's a beautiful thing. So, to all of you in India, I love you guys. I hope you know who I am. If not, Keith is going to make sure you do. And my fans around the world, especially in Europe, in Germany, in Austria, the Netherlands, Italy, Greece, you've all been so fantastic. And it's an honor for me and a privilege to still be in touch with all of you. And I'm just happy that I've had this honor to be the front man for all the bands that you've all admired for all of these years. And I hope you just continue to enjoy the music and turn your kids onto it so they could turn their kids onto it. And, who knows? Who knows? Maybe there'll be a statue of me someday.
It will happen.
You never know. So I'm just very happy to still be here with everyone.
That's beautiful, Bob. Beautiful.
Thank you, sir.
And Bob, I want to thank you so much for giving me today this wonderful opportunity to have you on this interview. And thanks again.
Oh, brother, it was my pleasure, and I thank you for allowing me this time. And you're a great guy and a wonderful host, and I love your show. And I look forward to coming back if I may someday.
My pleasure, Bob, to have you again. And thank you so much. And thanks for the awesome music that you have given us for decades. So I thank you so much for this great music. And really to go back with all again.
Right. It was certainly my pleasure to do it for all of you. I've enjoyed doing it, and I hope it shows in the performance to which I've given. And if for those who don't know who I am, find out who I am and just enjoy the music. I mean, it's all I have to offer in life is my talents given to me by God. And, if ever you find a Dean Martin record, it's because of him I became a singer. So, thank Dino too. He'd like that.
He's watching.
He's watching from down here somewhere.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you.
All right. I love you guys. Thank you again.
Have a great evening out there. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Thank you, my friend. Bye-bye now.